Welcome to the Touring Crew Career Masterclass. Why is it a Touring Crew Career Masterclass? Because the touring career is different, uniquely different than any sort of industry I've ever been involved in. And then not to mention, within the umbrella of events and backstage crew, the touring industry is also another unique bubble within that bubble. So there are some different ways to look at this. You know, it is a lifestyle industry. It's a lifestyle business. You live and you work with these people, you know. It is a very much so an integrated thing. If you're looking for a balanced life, this is not it. Don't try to balance this life because it will resist you. Life is not balanced. What you're going to want to do is learn the things that we share in here so you can learn how to enjoy the ride, because touring is a ride, man. Woo. And if you've ever done any touring, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can go from like 0 to 60 overnight. I remember when I was just a teenager, I was 19 and I'd been a stagehand for about a year or so, and I had gotten the opportunity to tour. Now, before that, I hadn't really traveled very much, you know, and I get this tour. And it was a van and trailer tour, as hard as they come. I'm driving the van. I'm like doing backline and monitors and everything. And it was a 6-month tour gone. Like, I lived in Atlanta, but we didn't come home for 6 months. Like, it was hard. It was a long thing. But the crazy thing is having never traveled hardly, other than maybe going to like Florida or Alabama outside of Georgia where I was living, I went very first 6 months of touring, I literally hit almost all states in the country, a few provinces in Canada. And I was like, I grew up on a dead end dirt road in Georgia. Like, I had been homeless not a year before this. I shouldn't even have been there, but here I am living this experience. And I'm going, whoa, like, this is what the world's like. Talk about education, you know? And so touring is very unique. It's hard to express the type of expansiveness and growth that you get from a successful career in touring, because at the same side, I've seen people get eaten up and spit out on touring because it hasn't been a successful experience for them. And that saddens me, because touring can be so wonderful if you create a wonderful experience from it. And boy, you have to, because if you've ever worked any gig whatsoever, you've probably seen the grumpy person. You know, the one that like achieved the gig part of it, but didn't have the career success part of it. It's a bummer to be around those people, but you can have both. It's not exclusive, you know? So the balance comes from within, by the way. There's no real balance of what happens around you. The balance comes from within. And so it's the key part of a successful career is to understand that you're in control of this thing as you move it forward. Okay. And so the first thing that we're going to talk about is moving forward. The first thing that you have to do with any sort of career goals is get clear. You have to figure out what your next step is. You need to know what you actually need to do next, because there's a lot of options here at every step of the way. Like for instance, if you wanted to get into the industry, you don't know where to start, and then I tell you, hey, you could start with these 4 or 5 or 6. I don't know if you saw the Instagram yesterday. There was like 6 different ways to get entry-level experience. So it's like, okay, great. Now I got 6 options to choose from. And at every step of the way, you will see this. But which option do you choose, you know, at every step of the way? Because it could be any of them. And so what we're going to talk about in this first part is how to figure out your next step and why it's important to have a next step. And I call this the career code. Okay, this is a code that you can plug in at any part of your career. Anytime you hit a wall, a plateau, you feel stuck, you want to make a change, you want to shoot for another thing, you're not sure what that is, you plug in this career code and you will figure out what you need to do next. I promise. The first step of the code is an acronym, C.O.D.E. And the first step of the code, and one second, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm going to switch over to speaker view for the recording. All right, so the first step of the code is clarity. You need to know what you are doing. Where are you going? Because it's all about direction. You know, if you don't have a direction with your career, you're gonna you know what happens, right? You leave your house, you're hungry, you start driving around town, you're like, I am hungry, right? It's like you're driving around, it's like, well, what do I want to eat? Maybe Mexican food. You know what? Let's have some Mexican food. And you're like, okay, great. I've made a decision on Mexican. Now what restaurant? What time do I want to eat? What type of Mexican food? Like there's a bunch of other micro decisions, because otherwise, without direction, you're going to be directionless, and it's going to be this aimless work cycle. And this happens at every level, every single level. Without direction, it can be this treadmill of hard work without moving forward. And so clarity, what clarity does is it takes you and puts you in the right direction. I don't care how awesome you drive, how fast you drive. If you're driving east, wanting to see a sunset, you'll never see it. And we do that all the time in our careers. You know, we work so hard and say, well, we're in the industry. Like, I just don't know. And it's like, well, where are you headed with all of this? Okay. And you might be telling me, dude, I don't know, man. Like, I'm learning about the industry. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do yet. Good. That's clarity. Because when you can attach yourself to where you are and get clear about where you are and where you want to go with it. And if where you want to go is, I'm not sure yet, the cool thing about that type of clarity is that opens up the right opportunities. Because at every step of the way, when you get clear about where you're at and what you want, the opportunities will present themselves. So if you don't know what you want to do, and you can kind of finally go, okay, I'm not trying to figure out what I want to do now. I'm trying, I know now that I'm not sure. I'm getting clear on that. So now where I'm at, I can actually experience where I'm at. I was talking to one of our crew coach members, and I'll explain this a little bit deeper. I was talking to a crew coach member yesterday in the first coaching session, and we were talking about that widespread experience. This person was like kind of at that crossroads of like, I'm just not sure what I want to do. I like this, I like that. It's like, okay, great. Well, if you don't know what you want to do and you have multiple interests, when you're first getting started, it's important to feed the interest, because something will pull on you. Something will reach out and say, hey, I'm the thing that you're most interested in as you develop. But what you need to do early on is to get clear. You have to take it as far as you need to get that clarity. Some people, man, some people are so lucky. Some people are in high school and they've done audio production and they're like, this is so cool. I want to be an audio person. And then they know exactly what they want. Man, if somebody ever tells me, hey, I know exactly what I want, that's easy, because the more clear questions you have, the more clear answers you get, right? And so in order to get clear with your career and what you need to do next, you need to ask yourself those questions. Where am I going with all of this? Like right now, where I'm at with my understanding and experience of where I'm at now, do I know? Do I need to just be in the work right now? Is that where I'm at? And that's okay too, because we're talking about, this is a career we're building here. I've spent the past 20 years touring. I feel like I'm just getting going when it comes to this new phase of my career, And so where are you at in the career timeline of it? Are you early stage to where you don't know and you just need to do? Because it is about getting clear. In order to know what you need to do next, you need to get clear. And what I suggested to the student that didn't know exactly what he wanted was to do everything you can as a stagehand and then as a local, as far until you need to actually make a choice to specialize. Because competency and awareness will open up and develop passion and interest. The better you understand and get at these different things, it will spark the interest to know exactly what you need to do next. Because if you were to ask me, hey, Kenny, how do I get on tour? I would have to ask you a whole bunch of other questions to get specific. There's a lot of ways to do it. And it's all in the specificity of where you're headed and where you're at now to figure out what this next step is. And here's what's cool about that. The second part of the career code is the O, which is the opportunities that line up with that clarity. Guys, have you ever done this? Like, and this is crazy powerful, okay? Have you ever like wanted a car? Like say you wanted like a red Jeep Wrangler, right? Like you're like, dude, Jeep Wranglers are badass. I want one. In fact, I want a red one. And you're like, man, and you're looking them up online and you're like, this is awesome. And all of a sudden you venture out and you're driving around and you're like, wait a minute, I'm seeing red Jeep Wranglers everywhere. Does everybody have the same awesome taste in cars that I do? And the reality is no, what's happening is this is the power of focus. You have been focused on what you want, that what you want becomes a lot more apparent and aware for you. Those Jeeps, they were always there. You just didn't pay attention to them. The Jeeps were always there. You just didn't pay attention to them because you didn't have the clarity about what you wanted. And as soon as you wanted a Jeep, guess what happened? You started seeing Jeeps everywhere. Guys, this works in your career. If you get clear, powerfully works, by the way. I get goosebumps talking about it. Whoa, you'll see that? If you get clear about what you want will begin to become in focus. Crazy. This is very, very real stuff. Because usually when I coach people, the opportunities are often right next to them. You know, sometimes these coaching members will come back into the coaching calls and be like, you know, Kenny, I made that call that you were saying, and like, yeah, I actually got an offer. And I was like, I know, and that call was always there for you to make. See how powerful this is? But you can never make that call unless you know who you're trying to call. See what I'm saying? So that's why clarity is important, but that's why the opportunities that come with clarity are even more important, because not every good gig is a good gig for you. And this is the crossroads that I'm talking about. You know, I mean, like you got, especially as you grow forward, especially if you're like beyond the entry-level stage and you're like, maybe you're 10 years, 15 years in and you're making a pivot. Maybe you're 5 years in and you're making a pivot, right? Like at every stage, if you get clear and then so you can focus on those opportunities, because man, when you get more capable, people will be pulling at you left and right. Like there are recruiters out there right now for even big production companies. They've hired recruiting companies like Indeed and stuff to go find talent right now because we need good people. That's just the nature of the industry. You know, we need good people right now. And you want to make sure that it's the right opportunities. I had a coaching, actually this wasn't a coaching student. This was a student in one of the programs a couple of programs ago. And he, poor fella, like he wanted to tour so bad as a lighting designer. Like he wanted to be an LD so bad. But at the time, he was a Starbucks at barista and was a barista at Starbucks and trying to pay his bills. Great. And so he was making progress. Within 60 days of working with us, he went from like being a barista to being a lighting tech. Whoa, no joke, right? And then here it came. He got an opportunity to get a corporate lighting job for full salary, for benefits. That was a good job. The problem was it wasn't a good job for him because he wanted to be a lighting designer on tour. Like, that's great, man. Those opportunities are everywhere. You can be a lighting designer, but that's not what you're after. You're after career, not job. And so to be a lighting designer on tour, you have to say no to the good jobs as a lighting designer so you can say yes to the career opportunities as a lighting designer. Does that make sense? And this happens to you every single step of the way. You're gonna see this. And so in order to attract those right opportunities, you can see how powerful it is and important it is to get clear. So if you don't know what you want to do, accept the fact that you don't know. So that way, the right opportunities will connect in front of you so you can step into them. Same exact thing with where you're at, man. You know, there's a quote. I'm going to pull it up here while I'm talking because this is actually really pertinent right now. It was a quote that I shared last night in the session. And this is perfectly pertinent. Sometimes your heart needs more time to accept what your mind already knows. You ever been there? Like at a gig and you're just like, man, I should have left a long time ago. But then your heart starts to go, yeah, but when I take the leap, then I have to actually take the leap, right? And so it goes to say the same thing when it comes to the next part of the career code, which is the D, which is decision. And you might be thinking, Kenny, didn't we already decide? Like I'm already focused? No. Like that's just testing the waters. Guys, a real decision, the word decision, to decide, comes from the Greek word deca, which means to cut, literally to cut off any other option. When you made a decision, you didn't say, okay, cool, I'm going to go and decide to go after this career, but if it gets challenging or inconvenient or it doesn't fit my expectations and my box of what I need, then I'm not going to go build it, right? No, you made a decision. You went and cut off all other options. You know, back in those days, in the biblical times, when that commitment, it was like a real commitment, where that came from, to cut meant that brother to brother, they would literally cut their hands, blood pact it, and say, I'm committed. I have decided to be this no matter what. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no, I'm only your brother conditionally. It is no, I'm committed to being this for you. I'm committed. If no one else is on your side, well, guess what? This decision that I've made, this to cut, and you guys have to understand something. There's going to be a lot of reasons to quit. Plenty of reasons. There's going to be frustrating people, shitty gigs, right? There's going to be a bunch of doubt. You're going to fail. And not only this, you're going to make a mistake that's going to embarrass you so bad that you are going to start to doubt your worth, right? All of that. Like that's bound to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, right? And the only way to push through that is to lean on the fact that you made a commitment to your future self. You didn't say, I'm trying to get a good gig here. That's why I showed up to Kenny's masterclass. No, you said, man, I'm trying to create a great career here. I want to create a career. I didn't say touring job masterclass. I said touring career masterclass. There's lots of jobs out there, plenty of jobs. A lot less people are building a career. You know, this actually, real commitment, guys, that's what it means to cut. This actually is a perfect segue into the last and final part of the career code, which will help you figure out what your next step is, which is that elevated mindset, the E, which is to elevate your mindset. To elevate your mindset, have that real decision, because here's the thing, guys, and I will give you, and I wasn't even going to mention this, but I feel like you need to know this. The state of the industry right now is a very, very interesting place, okay? Because you can get rapid achievement right now in this industry, rapid achievement. Notice I didn't say success. Because of the need of labor and people generally, everyone needs you. Not only does everyone need you, they would especially need you, because anybody that's in this masterclass or in Crew Coach is definitely somebody that people want. And I'll tell you why in a second, is because they're in desperate need. We are guys, we are canceling some shows right now. It's starting to get a little bit better, but there's been shows canceled because stagehands not showing up, crew not working out. We're training people on the road, brand new touring people out there on huge gigs, and the road people are having to train them. And so we need people right now. But here's the thing. Here is the reason why the E in the career code is so important. It's to elevate your mindset. So you're clear on what you want to do or don't want to do. You know where you're at. You're clear on where you're at and where you want to go. Those opportunities are coming to you. You've made a commitment to yourself to push through and to build this career, right? No matter what, to build this future. When you live an elevated mindset and through all of that, it's going to allow you to do the next thing that I'm talking about with the state of the industry, which is be on the other side of the pivot. Because the pivot is coming, guys. The pivot is coming. And this is what the pivot is. Right now, Companies are desperate. We need people. We need people, good enough people, plenty of those. But what's going to happen is it's going to shift. Soon enough, we're going to go from needing people to needing the right people, the good people, the ones that are connected to the mission and not the paycheck, not just the paycheck. You see, that's where the place of decision is going to come from on the other side of the pivot. And you guys are going to be well ahead of the game because you're clear on where you're at and what you want out of it. You're connected to the opportunities because you're saying no to the shiny object opportunities and you're saying yes to the right ones. You made it a real commitment to your future self and your family and the people that love you. And by the way, people that love you, man, like this is, you know, when you take care of yourself and you give to yourself and you grow your career and you become a success in your career, whatever that looks like for you, the people that love you feel the effects of that the most because you're taking care of the one thing that they want taken care of, which is you. You know, they love you so much. So it's exciting for them to see you go after your dreams, right? And so to live that elevated mindset. So how do you actually figure out your next step is through the code. Plug it in, man. Where are you? Assess yourself. You have to assess yourself. If you haven't assessed yourself, you have no clue. You can sit there and say, man, I am so overweight. Well, how overweight are you? Oh, I don't know. Have you stepped on the scale? You say you need to lose 10 pounds, but have you stepped on a scale? You know, where does the 10-pound number come from? Why do you want to tour? Why are you doing this? Why audio? Why backline? Why tour management? Why do you want to go on tour? You know, what does that look like for you? You know, is it buses and stuff? God, I tell you, this is the important part of this career code, is because in order to attract those opportunities and to really commit to that challenge, you need to know. I had a guy reach out to me. He's like, Kenny, I've been touring now for 10 years. 10 years. I've been working with a band that used to be big. Now they're playing clubs. I do everything for this band. They're a relatively named band, but I do everything. I've been with this band now for 7 years. This is my second tour, and I'm only making $150 a show. I feel robbed. I feel like I feel stuck. I don't know how to move forward. You know, they're a name band. They just treat me like crap, and I feel indebted. Like I just don't. Can happen to you guys. 10 years of touring? Whoa, he spent a decade doing the wrong type of touring. And he's kicking himself for it because he connects to the wrong things. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's not just like, hey, I'm on tour now. You know, there's a lot of things that will push and pull at you. But the cool thing about all of that uncertainty is if you plug in the code, you get the clarity, you're only saying yes to the right stuff, you're committed to it. You know exactly how to look at the work and the future because you got an elevated mindset. What's next? The next thing is to continue to push yourself out there. So that's the career code. Was that helpful? Awesome. How's everybody doing? We're going to move into the second section. I'm just going to switch to the gallery section because I just want to see we have some new folks in. Hey, what's up, everybody? What is up? What is up? Let me say hello to Caitlin. Caitlin is deaf. I want to say, what's up? How are you? I speak sign because my mom and dad are deaf. So just to let you know. But we have one deaf person here in the group, and she's awesome. She is a stagehand in Las Vegas. All right. Hey. Okay. So I wanted to share with you guys on how best to present yourself as a touring crew, okay? I want to share with you the touring resume booster bit. I do a full workshop in this that I'm putting into Crew Coach as we grow the resource. We just launched, actually, no, we haven't even just launched Crew Coach. I said we launched Crew Coach. We launched Crew Coach to the waitlist. It actually launches right after this, by the way. History is beginning. But anyways, the touring resume booster, I call it a booster is because tour resumes are a bit different. They're just different. And the reason why is because we don't need all that back-ended description of some of these roles as a tour person. Like on a corporate resume, you're going to see like manager, and then you're going to see a whole bullet list above of a bunch of stuff that that manager did for that company. And the reason why those resumes are like that in that regard is because these industries are different, manager to industry to industry. That's like they need to see some of those micro similarities. But if you put production manager, stage manager, lighting designer, like you don't have to say loaded in truss, know that you like, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to tell, like we know. So it's different. I am going to do a screen share. I pulled up a couple of old versions of some of my past resumes. They're not updated, and I've blocked out some of the bits, but I want you to see what a smart, sensible format looks like. This is not, by the way, this is not the Bible. Okay. I'm not saying like this has to be, but what I am saying is this has worked for me as few times I've actually used a resume, because I'm kind of like old school relationships. And so resume hasn't really been needed until now for me. For whatever reason, it's honestly, I got to tell you, my last gigs, Korn, Bon Jovi, Jonas Brothers, no resumes. So I don't know. But what I am telling you is this resume here is smart. It's sensible. It works really, really well. And it has for my past students. They love it. So I want to share it with you, because now that you're clear and all that stuff, you need to put yourself out there and you want to do it the right way. And we'll talk about it on an entry level standpoint too, but let me screen share. Sorry with all the messages coming in. I don't know if y'all know this, but it's my birthday. And so I'm spending my time getting to serve. I don't know if that is actually sharing the right thing. I don't know what y'all see. Y'all see your resume? Okay, y'all do. Okay, because I got like a whole bunch of tabs. Let me just drop tabs here. Come on. Is this the resume? This blue, it's got blue?
I think it is. It looks like a resume.
Okay. Hold on one second. I thank you for that. Let me stop sharing real quick, because I was like, I'm gonna be all smart and have a bunch of tabs open, and I'm just gonna like listen. It didn't work out. So hey, thanks so much for the birthday love. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna share my whole dang desktop, and we're gonna do it like that. If y'all see anything that's not right, just turn your head. Okay. So everybody can see this resume? Great. Let me move this over. I don't know where some of these controls are. All right. So here is a one-page resume. I want you guys to really look at this. It doesn't seem like much, but I'm going to break this down for you to show you how powerful this actually is. Okay. I'm going to also bring up, let me see. I'm going to also bring up, I'm so sorry, guys. Thanks for your patience. I'm a mess here sometimes. But it's okay. I'm a beautiful mess, as they say. Come on, where is this dang thing? There it is. Here's the other one. Okay, cool. Here's two of them. All right. So on these two resumes, you guys can see that there are all of this information. Now, I want you to look close here. Okay. These are very smartly laid out specifically for touring. Okay. Again, you do not have to go into depth with a lot of these positions. Okay. So always start with your name and the title that you're going after. Now, I will tell you, and I don't want you guys to get too confused. I'm 20 years into this. So my relationships and the type of people, I can do tour production and backline. It took me a lot of years to go from backline into production management and tour management. Backline to stage management is an easy connection, because that was kind of a normal position. If you're a backline tech or a drum tech or guitar tech, you might also be the stage manager of a small band. So that was a normal experience connection, but it took me a while to actually move into production and tour management. But I still always put backline in there now, because my reputation precedes me. And so I can do that. But if you were just trying to get into tour management early on, or backline, production management is probably not something that you would have gotten into anyways that early on as a single position without all the experience. But anyways, put what you're going after. Do not confuse people and put all of your experience on your resume. It needs to be all of your experience for the position you're going after. So yes, you might have a background in audio, lighting, video, staging, and the whole kit and caboodle. If you were a production manager or tour manager, I would say yes, put all of that stuff on there. But if you were going out for one of those things of your skill set, then it would need to be that. So say, okay, yes, I got a full production experience, but I'm going out for front of house engineer or audio engineer. So I need to craft the resume relative to that. Just because you've been a lighting or video or whatever, don't put that on your audio resume when you're putting it out there. And the reason why is because it's confusing, okay? Because you got to tell tours how to place you. You have to tell them, okay? And then 2, focus. We understand in production, especially as a hiring production manager, that if someone says, I'm a front of house engineer, and let's just, okay, let me rephrase this. If I'm hiring a front of house engineer and somebody sends me a resume that says I'm a front of house engineer, and I look at their skills and it's like smart, tuning the PA, like all of the skills, and then he's got, or he or she's got like references that show front of house. But I get another resume that's front of house and monitors, okay, on their resume. Yes, they're both audio, the monitor, but in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, this person that says that they're front of house, like dedicated, it's front of house. Even I know that front of house and monitors are a different discipline, different result and outcome and understanding of the work on a tour. And so I'm going to lean on somebody that has the specifics. You know what I mean? Like, sure, general audio is great, but I want front of house mixed. Does that make sense? Because, from a hiring standpoint, yes, that person knows audio, but for some reason, the other one that says they're the front of house one, that's really the one I at least want to start with, because they're the ones that saying I'm the exact need. I'm not just the general audio need solution. I'm the exact solution, right? And so tours get finite like that. On the smaller stuff, on the smaller tours, it could be like, for instance, this backline on the right side here, backline tech stage. And so, well, let's just say the production manager was not on there and it was just stage manager. Like that could be a great small tour resume. If I was going out for lighting, of course, it would be the same thing, like it would be lighting and my lighting experience. I got to tell you guys, if you look here on my resumes, all right, here is this one on the right side is my backline stage and production management resume, right? You can clearly see on here that it is all hyper focused. Now, right before these tours that I started, which this wasn't my first tour, but I had a whole bunch of experience that I did not share on the resume. I worked as an audio tech in Atlanta, a video person, a camera operator. I've been the stagehand. Like I've had all this past experience that I did not put on this resume because it wasn't pertinent, not directly pertinent. The experience is pertinent to the work that I bring, but not pertinent to the resume, not pertinent to the presentation. Hopefully I'm coming across here the correct way. So always on the top part of your resume, your name and exactly what you're going out for. Put your telephone number, your email address, and I like to put my social media because I teach a thing in Crew Coach called social resume, which you'll learn later, but social resume is a very powerful thing. I like to go ahead and show them my social because I guess what? These days, they're looking. They're looking anyways. They may ask you for it because, guys, you got to understand something. Touring is different. Touring, you're not hiring somebody because their skill set, not just, you're bringing them into your camp. You're bringing them into living on the bus and you know what I mean? Into a close-knit family. It's different. And so if you can put your best foot forward right from the gate, do that. For me, I share my socials. I share my Facebook because if somebody comes and looks at my Facebook, good. It's all good for me. Okay. That's called social resume. I'm not going to dive into it right now, but that's why I put my social media. If it's your Instagram or whatever, I would share it. If you're a lighting designer, share your website, your portfolio, right? That type of thing. All right. The next section is the artists that I've worked with and the duties. If you're just getting started and you're a stagehand, or you're just local crew, or your local crew, you're in effing local crew. If you're local crew, then put that, production companies I've worked with. Don't worry about the white space on your resume because you're not trying to apply for something that's outside of the white space anyways. You're applying for stuff that's going to help you fill up the white space, And so anyone that's hiring you understands that. They probably would appreciate that you've even put this together. Because what happens, especially on the entry-level resume stuff, is people put all of that non-industry related stuff on their resume, the offices, the restaurants they worked at, like all that construction work, like all the non-relevant stuff on their resumes, when really, if you had just been local crew or local productions, maybe you've only worked at Live Nation as a VIP or a runner or something like that, just put that and then put some resume but then put some skills, right? Like it can be just the one company or the two companies, right? And then make sure that you have your few skills or your handful of skills that you've gained from that. And then make sure, okay, we'll get there. I don't want to get too far, but so yeah, does that make sense? It doesn't matter about the white space. The white space should not scare you. It should empower you, because here's what 20 years of filling in the white space could look like. You know what I mean? Jim here probably has a lot more to fill in. So, but you see what I'm saying? So don't worry about it. You just need time. You just need time. Take ownership of where you're at in your career, because it's the only time that you can be in it at this level. The only time, because soon enough, the white space is going to get less and less and less. And then here's what happens. Like Joe Nichols for me was not my first tour. I had to bump off those early tours. I didn't, like, if you wanted to put dates on here, you could put like a starting date and then a current date. But the problem is for me, I could literally contact any one of these camps and go to work with them again as a freelancer, because that's the relationships that I've built with every single one of them. So yes, I'm not currently with these. I'm currently with the Jonas Brothers right now, which is not even on these resumes. But the point is at any point I could go back and work with them. So what I would do, but I haven't done, is I would just put my start date. I started in 2001, and so I would just put 2001 to current right next to artist worked and duties. And then for me, that would sum that up. If you're early on and you can really finite some dates, that's fine too. It's about honesty and transparency and being cool with where you're at. Like, I'm happy with where I'm at, because I look at this and go, okay, who else can I knock off this? All right. Which I gotta put Korn on there and Bon Jovi and Jonas Brothers. Like, I've got some ones to knock off. Sorry, Amos Lee, I love you. No, I'm just joking. I won't knock Amos off. Amos actually sang at my wedding, by the way. Definitely ain't gonna knock him off. Okay, but you see how sensible and smart this is. I've got my title. Everyone knows what these titles do. You don't have to tell a production or tour manager what these specifics of these roles are. You do that in the next section, which is your skill set, your skills. Now, obviously, I was applying on this left side for tour management opportunities and stuff with management companies, so I wanted them to know my proficiency in some of these type of skills. And of course, some of these type of skills. But the reality is like, and it's all relative. So I want to show you this. What I mean by this is, see this, I've got production manager. Well, this is one of my early production management gigs. I had only really done production management for Seal, Amos Lee, and Aluna George at the time. And so I didn't have like all of this stuff added on there as those additional production skills. It was Master Tour, Stage Plot Pro, stage management, truck packing. I don't know why endorsement management's on there, but anyways, you can see that like I have some production management skills on there along with the other stuff, but not as extensive as this one, because I was learning how to fill in the white space better. But you definitely want to put what skills are relative to what's up here. And again, they don't need to be confusing. Backline and stage and production is not a confusing combination. It might be if you don't know the business, but it's not a confusing combination. You could be a lighting designer and a production manager. That's not like any specialty and production manager can work one day. You got to get experienced. So whatever specialty you choose, you can always move into production management should you decide you want to be a bigger picture person in responsibility wise. But I digress. So artists worked with, there's the care and experience, all relative. And then finally with references, guys, you can put some training and education. When it comes to your degree and stuff like that, I got to tell you, if you have a degree, great. Hey, put it on there. It can't hurt. It's not going to probably add much to anything. Maybe a management company might feel a little bit different about a degreed person, but trust me when I say that your skills that you're expressing that you can work, and then your references matter way more than any sort of training and education. I promise you that. And then references. Here's the big thing with references, guys, and I'll leave it with this and we'll move on to the next section. Put your references contactable with a telephone number. Don't make the hiring person ask for references. They're going to ask. Just give it to them. Have the confidence that you're giving it to them. You ain't going to put a reference that's not one that knows you're going to reference, use them. And so they know, right? They should know. That we dive a lot deeper into these resumes, by the way, in the Crew Coach workshop that we're putting up. But like, make sure your resumes are contactable. It's very important. And your resumes need to point to the skills, point to the past history, and say, yep. That's all your resume needs to do. Yep, that person is exactly the above. They just need to confirm it. Don't lie, don't fib. Be completely honest on your resume. Be completely honest, because you don't have to lie. You don't have to worry about it. You're only applying for your next level anyways. So contactable resumes, make sure they can confirm the above. At least 1, 3 is great. Make sense? How awesome is this resume format, guys? Look how much information is in a short 1-pager. Is that not cool? Like, anybody would look at this and be like, wow, I completely get this. Like, this makes sense. It actually is pleasing to look at. Now, lastly, as far as design goes, keep it 1 page. But as far as design goes, hey man, it's your personality, whatever makes it best present you. I'm not a stickler on design. Just make sure that the design doesn't stimulate the content. You know what I mean? Like, make sure it doesn't like override it, rather. If that makes sense. So hopefully, was that helpful? Was that helpful? Okay, awesome. All right, cool. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. So pretty cool, right? The 1-page resume, the touring resume booster. Can you see how different a touring resume is? Yeah, it's different, man. I've looked at so many resumes, and the thing that I want as a hiring tour and production manager, if I'm hiring crew, man, I just want to know who they are, what they claim that they are, who they worked with, because who they worked with, I might know somebody in those circles. So that, even if they didn't give me the reference, that's a reference. And what job do they say they did? I don't need to know the specificities. Believe me, it's almost impossible to lift the specificities. We do so much, and then it's the skills, man, the skills, just list them out. Like, truck packing is a skill, stagehand management is a skill. Excel is a skill. Obviously, there are softwares and specificities as you add to where you're shooting for, but don't, just because you're trying to apply for a lighting tech does not mean you have to know the Grand MA yet. You know what I mean? You might know the visualizer, so put that on there. A lighting company might go, oh, okay, cool. They know the visualizer. Great. To me, that's a skill. So hopefully that was helpful. We're going to move on to the kind of final component, guys. And this is a very important one, which is the _1 resource that you need for unlimited gigs. Okay. I just told you guys that even my last 3 gigs, I haven't had to have a resume. And to be honest with you, as a freelancer, it's different, uniquely so, because I don't have the luxury as a freelancer to go to companies to get put out. Like a lot of people that I work with, it's easy. Hey, call this touring company. They call them, they get put out. The tours get the clients. They don't have to worry about hustling up any client relationships, nothing. They get put out. Now there's internal relationships, obviously. So that gets them in and quality opportunities. But like, as a freelancer, you have to hustle up your own relationships. Now, relationships are the #1 resource to get unlimited gigs. I cannot tell you, it is not degrees. It is not being a badass engineer or designer. That stuff doesn't, well, the degrees can't really super help, but the reputation that a designer can help, that badass designer and engineer can help, but it is your relationships. It is not your network. first of all, let me start by sharing with you what the difference of network and relationship is, because so many people go, well, you got a network, you got a network, you got a network. Well, guess what? You're in my network, but I could not possibly refer you for a gig because we don't have a relationship like that. It wouldn't behoove me. It could hurt me actually in my career because I've built up my reputation to refer you for a gig. I want to, boy, do I want to. But you see, that's the difference of network and relationship. We're in the same network, you and I, right? But I don't know you like that yet, right? I don't know you like that. So the people that knows you like that are who you're going to get your gigs from. Let me repeat that. The people that know you like that, the people that can point to your resume and go, yep. And not just your working resume, but that can also point to your character, to your work ethic, to your vibe, whatever terminology you want to use, right? The people that can go, yeah, they're the right person to put on your bus. And or at least I will put my name up for that person. You see, relationships are the key. Your network is the tip of the iceberg. You know, one thing I like to do is I do this analogy. I'll do this on stage when I do some of my talks, is I'll go, all right, get your phones up. And then I'll get people to follow my Facebook group. They'll be like, great, now you're in my network, but I still couldn't hook you up with a gig. You know, you got to develop a relationship. Now, I do that thing I was telling you guys about social resume, which you can develop relationship through social and posting. And anyways, point is people need to know you like that. Relationships are the key to it. Now, that's the first step to it. They have to continue to know you like that. They have to continue to know you like that. One way that I do that, and I'll share this with you, is, oh man, one second, guys, bear with me. I promise you'll appreciate this. There it is. Let me pull this up. Okay, just going to share the whole desktop because I can't figure this out. All right, you guys see this graphic right here? Kenny, it says, hey, Kenny Barnwell here. I was just thinking about you. I hope you're doing great. I'm sharing this because of how important this is. It is very important to understand that the gigs are gotten in the depths of the relationships, in the depths of the relationship. And if you don't know, maybe you've even seen me post this on Facebook. I do this stuff for a reason, guys. I do this to keep in people's minds, to keep in people's minds. I can't tell you how many times someone's messaged me and said, hey man, I heard of a gig. I just was thinking about you. Well, how do you become that person? How does it happen when someone else gets a gig, they think of you? That's where you want to be, right? That's where you want to be. And so how do you do that? It's not because you're connected to those people. It's because of things like this. This is just one tactic. I have a lot of tactics that I share in Crew Coach, but this is a powerful one. I've done this for so many years, guys. What I do is I go into my phone and I don't vet anybody. Like in the industry, out of the industry, it doesn't matter. Okay. I go through my text list about once a month and I text everybody this right here. Hey, it's Kenny Barnwell or Kenny Barnwell here. Make sure you use your first and last name because sometimes people get new phones and contacts don't transfer over. You ever got that text where it's been like, hey, it's so great to see you. You're like, oh, who is this? You know, it's better to say your first and last name. And then I was just thinking about you. I hope you're doing great. Because this starts conversation. Relationship is a conversation. You know, a relationship is not about you and what you need from it. A relationship is a place to go to give, not to get. And so you can see how this text gives, right? I was just thinking about you. I hope you're doing great. What does that do? Oh, man, thank you so much. Kenny, wow, thank you so much for thinking about me. How are you doing? There it goes. How are you doing? Man, I'm doing awesome. Crew Coach is rocking. Students are just loving it. We're inspired and excited. I'm working with Jonas Brothers. We'll see how it all pans out, you know, just doing great. Because here's the thing. a lot of people live in a scarcity mindset when it comes to gigs. They're afraid to tell people that they're doing great because they're afraid that they won't get called for gigs. But the thing is, it's easier to get a gig while you have a gig, because, when you're not gigging and you're not working, it's like a little, almost like a red flag. Like, well, I wonder why they're not gigging. Like, why are they sitting on the couch? They ain't working it. What's up? They only call on the same six people and not anybody else. What's going on? And so it's important to spark these conversations with your people. And so the best thing to do is to go through your phone list, text them something like this: first and last name, so they know it's you. I was just thinking about you. Start that conversation. Then they get to ask you about you, and you get to tell them. Okay. The last thing you want to do is this right here, which is the biggest mistake that most people do and they make. They say, hey, well, listen, if you hear of any gigs, let me know. Let me know if you hear of anything. My schedule's opening up there or whatever. Like, let me know if you hear of anything. Because here's the thing. Everyone asked everyone that question. If you're in the business, I would show you my messages. I cannot tell you how many messages I get regularly that says, hey, Kenny, oh, my tour is finished in November. I'm thinking, well, everybody's tour is finished in November. Okay. Let me know if you hear of anything. It's like, I certainly would. But I just got the same 20 messages from everybody else, and I can't remember who's who. Oh, hey, what's up, Joey? Oh, your child. That's a beautiful picture. Thank you so much. Yeah, my son just turned 1. Thank you. Oh, I'm looking for somebody. Joey would be perfect for that gig. Joey didn't ask me about work or anything. He just texted me and see how I was doing. And then I'll automatically think of him, and I'd be like, I know Joey works for Keith Urban, so he's probably busy. But you know what? I'm going to ask him anyways. I cannot tell you. Joey's a real person, by the way. I text Joey even though I know he's working because I'm just hoping. Because what if I get Joey, the guy that I really feel connected with? What if? And so something else that I do with this same similar text is specificity. I obviously will text somebody a little bit more general text like this one, but there's a really cool one that I do that is like this, but then I think about something that I know about the person. One of my dear friends, she's a tour manager for Harry Styles. I think it's Harry. One of those type acts, Harry or the other one. I don't know. Anyways, and she, amazing woman. We toured together back in the day with Ariana Grande. I toured with her with Josh Groban, and she always calls me for gigs. Now, one thing that I do with her is, over the years, anytime I'm thinking about her, I'll text her and say, hey, Janet, I hope you're, Kenny Barnwell here. I was just thinking about you. I hope you're doing great. I make no assumptions that somebody didn't get a new phone, by the way, and they don't have my name and number. And then I send her a picture of a sewer drain that I may have taken. And the reason why is because she has this thing that she does. She posts on it on Instagram, where she posts a picture of a sewer drain from all around the world, these cool sewer drains, and she posts it. It's like her thing. And so I know that. And so I text her a picture of a sewer drain, which is way more thoughtful. I'm deeper in her head, in her relationship. And here's what happens. Janet calls me for gigs all the time. And what's crazy is I've only been able to say yes to Janet one time in 8 years of her asking. But she always calls, even though I say no. Sorry, I'm not available, because I'm deeper in the relationship. That's not the only text that I do. There's other things. I always ask her how she's doing, different things like that, a little bit deeper, not just surface level, because the gigs are gotten in the depths of the relationship. The woman calls me all the time, and I just can't seem to take the gigs ever. But it worked out one time with Josh Groban for her, which was cool. Went and did teleprompter for Josh Groban. And that was another point about the relationship. She hired me for teleprompter based on my competency, not because I had teleprompter on my resume. I didn't. I just could do it. And so she would rather hire the personality than just the skill set because I was competent. See how the relationships work? Powerful stuff I'm sharing with you guys here. Most people, and so how does this work in a corporate setting that's not freelance? Relationships, if you are let's just say that you went to work with PRG, okay, or Live Nation, huge companies. People are always the pathways to the next step, the next opportunity. There's always a person in between you and the next thing, always. That's why relationships are important. In the corporate setting, if you walk in every morning and you see Mark, the secretary, sitting in the front, you know, and you just say, and go back to the shop and you make no effort, well, guess what you didn't realize? Mark is best friends with the booking manager that books the jobs. Mark, like they're best friends. They hang out on the weekends. Mark has the ability to put in a good word for you, not because you've asked them, but because you're cool. But instead, you just pass by Mark and say, hey, and just go back to the lighting shop and do your work. When all you could do is swing by and just say, hey, Mark, how's it going, man? Crazy. What are you doing here so early on a Tuesday? Dang, I love your shirt, man. So cool, right? And then next thing you know, the conversation goes to Mark, to the booking manager, Alice, and said, Mark goes to Alice and says, you know, Alice, that Kenny back there in the lighting shop, you ever talk to him? He is hilarious. Love that guy. He looks like Dale Earnhardt Jr., but he's pretty funny, you know? That's how this stuff works, right? Like that's what I'm talking about here. The depths of the relationship. It just goes a little bit further. And remember what I was talking about, the state of the industry, guys? One day they're going to want to hire the right people. Well, the right people are doing this stuff. They're working on their relationships. They're working on getting clear about what they want to do so they can figure out what they actually need to do next and not just aimlessly say yes to gigs. You know, they've made real decisions and commitments. They're not watching the clock and worrying about getting paid just a mini for the time because of, you know, no, man, they're connected with something bigger and something more in the future. And that's how successful touring careers are made. It's so crazy. It is so crazy. You hear a lot of these old road cats and they just don't understand like how a lot of these newer, younger people coming into touring watch the clock so intently, like are so focused on, you know, they're just doing their thing and not, you know, contributing to the bigger show, you know? And that's what this is really all about, man. This is about you. Your career is all about you connecting with the missions of these different tours and these different shows, you know? And so first of all, have your own mission, because you need to understand that the difference of a job and a career is when you go apply for a job, a company, they're looking to hire you to see if you are the right person for that job that needs to be done. But if you're building a career and you go into that interview, you're also interviewing them to see if they are a good fit for your career vision, because you actually have one. You're not just going there to get a job in production and so you can make a paycheck and pay some bills and stuff. That will happen, but you're going in there with a connected difference. I cannot tell you, there's not one company in the world, big or small, that if you went into the hiring managers and say, listen, let me just lay this out for you, okay? I'm building a career here. I plan on becoming this. Right now, I am chomping at the bit to serve and to feed my mission. What can I do to help? How can you help me? There's not one company in the world that wouldn't go, really? Okay, let's give it to her, you know? So clarity, right? The decision, plug in the career code, get your resume right and focused. Build and develop and maintain those relationships as deep as possible. Cut in there. You know, if someone says, hey, how you doing? Don't just say fine or good. Just say, to be honest with you, I'm, you know, feeling like this. And how you doing? Stop for a second, a few seconds, you know? And guys, I do this with everyone, the usher, the janitor. I stop at the ladies that are serving catering, like the lighting, like I'm that person, because what I know is the more I put out, the more output, you know? It doesn't have to be the person that's directly hiring me. This actually happened to me when I got the referral for Korn. I was subbing for Moby, who was like this big time guitar tech. He needed to go tech for Billy Corgan, and they needed somebody to come take care of Monkey with Korn. And this was like a high profile gig. Well, they called me. Well, Moby, even though he's a top tech, I'm a top tech, he didn't know who I was. He had no clue. He was hoping that the referral that referred me, his friend, came through. But one thing that happened was somebody heard that, it was the production assistant heard that Kenny Barnwell was coming out on the gig, and they were like, Kenny Barnwell, dude, that guy is so cool. That guy is so nice. About 7 years ago on Ariana Grande, we worked together, and look, 7 years ago, I made an impact that literally affected something 2 months ago that actually softened the tension because of my relationships. You see what I'm saying? That's how key they are, man. Not just to get it, but to add to the experience, to gift to the experience. So, and thank you so much for showing up to the masterclass. Let me